For 9 days, my macOS Flutter app crashed for only one user. And I fixed it by making a copy of the Android ADB executable file. But before I get ahead of myself, I need to tell you a little story about my journey of trying to find this bug. It starts with a terrifying message. In short, it reads, "My lead tester updated her MacBook and now she wants to use your software, but it just crashes." So I go, no worries. Let me go see the remote logs. I'll fix it up in no time. I open Google Cloud login and I see nothing. No errors, no exceptions, definitely no crashes. So I responded, okay, give me a second. I'll add in Sentry crash reporting, then I should be able to see what happens. I set up Sentry. It's just a few lines of code. I send off the build, and within a few minutes, I get the exception. So I'm happy. But when I see this exception, I just go, what is all this stuff? Now, if you look wherever you look in the screenshot, there's no Dart code involved in this crash. So I have no information on what I should be doing. So I tell Peter that it's throwing from the native code. We chat for a bit, and then we conclude that because it's working on every other Mac that we try on, it's not my Flutter code that's causing this issue. Peter, being the champ that he is, says, we'll get a new MacBook and it should work on there. But as you can guess, the new MacBook arrives and they install my app and they try to run it and the same issue happens. Now at this point, it's been multiple days that the tester can't use test suites. It saves so much time that they're now reverting back to manual testing because they literally just can't use it. I needed to figure out something quickly, and I know it has something to do with spawning a new Dart process. So I searched and I basically go on the hunt and read every single post I can find. Luckily, I find this Flutter issue. Now, as you can see, it's almost 3 years old and it's still open. This makes me a little bit more nervous because I can't have an unfixable bug in my software. I scroll through this issue, I read, I do some of the stuff, I scroll more, I read until I get to the last message, which is 5 days ago. This looks a bit more promising. It says that if I run my process and I ask to run in shell, it will at least throw an exception instead of giving a fatal crash. So I add that piece of code into my software. And then I see this nice piece of code over here, which says that if it does throw a sync pipe exception, which is the exception I showed you earlier, it will ignore this exception and it won't quit out of the UI thread on macOS. So I go into the code where I think it has the problem. I start putting run in shell through so that I can start throwing exceptions, because at least then I can get it into my Sentry stack thread. I make a new build, send it off, they install it, they test it, and finally we get something a bit better. I see the exception is from the ADB devices, and it has a specific message, bad CPU type in executable. So I obviously start searching for that. I see a lot of comments about Rosetta translation issues. And then I see this specific comment deep down in a Reddit post from over 3 years ago. And I see that with this file command, we can actually check what architecture the file is built for. So I run file command on the ADB file that is shipped with test suites. And I also run it on the latest ADB file on my PC. And that's when I saw the issue. The lines that I scratched out here were missing when I run file ADB on the file that is shipped with test suites. So to fix this bug, all I had to do was Control-C, Control-V, and copy the latest ADB file into my project. 9 days to figure this out. But that's how it goes.